School is in session, and while students are busy discussing and gossiping in their respective classrooms, one boy sits alone, isolated due to his antisocial behavior. Suddenly, a vicious-looking boy enters the classroom and announces the arrival of Boss Choi. His followers greet him with enthusiasm, while a girl asks about his business. Boss Choi quickly shows her the record for the month, revealing chart-busting sales of 48 million won. The girl is thrilled, and his followers cheer upon hearing the amount. One girl even declares that this calls for drinks on Friday. It's clear that Boss Choi is the real deal, but he has some business to take care of first. He walks up to the boy sitting alone, named Park Han-jun, and holds his head firmly while greeting him. Then, without warning, Boss Choi bangs Park Han-jun's head on the desk, calling him and asking if he's ignoring him. Choi repeatedly bangs Park's head on the desk while inquiring about the purchase of new products. He tells Park that he just wants to see his business go bust and that he ruined his own life by falling for Kim Chen-soo. Boss Choi's followers cheer him on, and when asked what would happen if a teacher witnessed the situation and scolded him, Choi replies that even teachers owe him money, and that any betrayal would result in a bloodbath. Choi continues to glare at Park, confirming if he's going to hit him as his face looks quite scary. Finally, Boss Choi punches Park Han-jun and asks him if he's getting angry, saying that he can report it if he wants. He goes on to talk about paying him back and how Park Han-jun's fight against Nexus ruined his life. It all happened 2 years ago when there used to be a nationwide gang of high school students called Nexus, and Park Han-jun was their leader. He once went to war against Kim Chen-soo, and when he thought he had won the war, Nexus members sued him for consistent portrayal of false situations and fabrication of evidence. Park Han-jun lost the trial, and for indemnity, his father had to sell the gym he had devoted his entire life to. After that incident, Park Han-jun vowed to never fight again. He remembers crying and asking his father for forgiveness, but his father comforted him by saying that a grown man should cry and that if he doesn't have money, he'll lose even if he wins. One evening while walking on the streets, a gang of boys heading towards the PC room noticed him walking alone. They start discussing him and his fight against Nexus, and one boy recognizes him as the infamous bastard and goes to greet him. The big bad boy shows Park Han-jun a ring with the Nexus symbol and purposely irritates him. When Han-jun tries to ignore him, he punches him and starts beating him. In June, the gang leader stabs Han-jun in the chest and confirms with the other members that he really is the same guy, because now he's just an idiot. The boy wonders how a dork like Han-jun could fight against Nexus and laughs aloud. Another boy tells the gang that Han-jun is just a guy who was sold off by his father. All of them laugh at Park Han-jun. The leader boy again heads to stab Han-jun, but he holds his leg. The guy casually tells Han-jun that he's sorry to step on him, as he thought that Han-jun was just a piece of trash. Han-jun quietly gives the guy a death stare, and he gets intimidated just by that glance. Unable to accept the fact that he got scared, the boy picks up a thick wooden stick and hits Han-jun on the head. Han-jun wriggles with pain, and that boy calls him a worm. After beating up Han-jun, the gang decides to move on to their destination. Simultaneously, another boy comes to rescue Han-jun, but he doesn't understand what exactly Han-jun is doing. The gang wonders who that bastard is. The guy continues to question Han-jun about whether he is even trying to make them pay, or if he is worried that he will make them pay for nothing. If Han-jun could get things right, half of those guys' lives would be screwed up. The guy next to Han-jun knows that he doesn't have enough money and offers him a good amount to sue those guys. He also tells Han-jun that if he doesn't want to sue them, just hit them and make them pay. The guy asks Han-jun how long it will take to catch those bastards. 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Park Han-jun demand to know the identity of the guy, but he tells them that he is someone who wishes to kill Kim Chen-soo. By that time, the gang approaches them again, and they are delighted to see the sum of money. Within June, the leader of the gang tells Han-jun that if they knew that Han-jun had so much money, they would not have hit him. But before he completes his sentence, Han-jun hits the guy directly on the face. He falls next to the other 2 members, scaring the hell out of them. Han-jun informs the guy next to him that it will only take 4 seconds to get those bastards. The other 2 guys get anxious and try to back off, but Han-jun hits both of them with a hefty flick. After which, Han-jun tells the guy that now no one is listening to them anymore as the darkness took over. The guy directed Han-jun to his place. He questioned Han-jun about watching news and finally revealed his identity. The guy is Jin-woo, Korea's youngest self-made conglomerate, and the president of Odd's group. Jin-woo is someone who can blow up Han-jun's nose with a 10,000 won bill. Jokes apart, Jin-woo asks Han-jun whether he is aware of Kim Chen-soo's current lifestyle. Anyone can tell just by looking at the top articles that Kim Chen-soo is Korea's shining program, and even now he's gathering goons and acting like a gangster. That bastard ruined Han-jun's life and is now living the life that belonged to Han-jun. Jin-woo tells Han-jun that it's not difficult for him to destroy Kim Chen-soo in this society. However, Jin-woo doesn't want to do that. He wants to use Kim Chin-soo's own dirty, cheap, and disgusting methods to ruin his life completely. Jun-woo informs Sanjun that all expenses required to catch Kim Chin-soo and everything else he needs for the rest of his life will be paid by General. Even Han-jun's father's gym will be taken back, but Han-jun has to lend his fist to General. Han-jun is curious to know why Jun-woo hates Kim Chin-soo so much. Jan-woo tells him that the reason is not that important, and he will soon find out. Now, the situation is such that Han-jun has the fist, and Jun-woo has the money. However, the most important fact is that Han-jun and Jin-woo have the same enemy. Yoon enters Boss Choi's classroom where Choi intimidates the students to spend $300 on his website. Han-jun remembers the instructions given by Jun-woo about a Nexus member in his school, and he heads straight towards Boss Choi. He remembers that the world is all about money, honor, human relations, quality of life, and money makes everything easier. Han-jun punches Choi directly in the face, knocking him out. Jun now knows that money is status. Choi believed that there was nothing to fear in this world and that there was no one more powerful than him until he met Park and Jun. Choi felt it with all his senses that he had no chance of winning against that bastard. In fact, it even occurred to Choi that they belonged to different species. It seemed like Park and Jun were beasts personified. But then he met Kim Chin-soo, who managed to sue Park and Jun and make him crawl from pillar to post for money. It was at that very moment when Choi realized that having tons of money is the best thing in the world. If one has money, everything becomes easy. That's when Choi opened his shopping site and forced other kids to buy from it. That's how he made money and even succeeded in placing Park and Jun under his control. That's exactly how he became a predator again. But after all this, Choi is the one being beaten up right now. Jun mercilessly beats up Choi, and he knows that it's impossible for him to fight back. All the bastards around him look as if they were secretly enjoying the scenario. Choi is completely embarrassed by the continuous blows. Choi calls out for help and commands Joey to hold Han-jun for him. But the guy is too scared to follow his command. Boss Choi starts recording the way Han-jun was beating him up and tells him that it's not worth it, and he'll end up being in trouble exactly the way it happened last time. Han-jun ignores his warning and kicks him in the face with force. Choi is in absolute pain and wonders if he really will die after being hit like this. Determined to live, Choi decides to run for his life and calm himself down. It's been 2 years since Park and Jun started crawling around instead of using their fists. Maybe it's possible to win over the situation with the help of an athlete. Choi rushes over to Park, begging for help to save himself. He offers 1 million to Park if he can successfully beat Han-jun. Han-jun advances towards Choi and screams at Park to do something about this crazy bastard. Park soon bargains with Choi, asking for 2 million instead, which Boss Choi readily agrees to. Park then apologizes to Han-jun, explaining that he'll have to fight him as the college entrance exam fees are quite expensive. Han-jun removes a bundle of notes and hands it over to Park, telling him that there's no need for him to be involved in this matter. Park easily betrays Boss Choi and thanks Han-jun for the money, promising to use it well. Choi's hopes of winning against Han-jun are shattered into pieces because of Park's double-crossing. Now there are only Han-jun and Choi in the room. Han-jun hits Choi so hard that he bangs into the glass windows, shattering glass pieces all over the corridor. Choi falls right in front of the principal, who is enraged and demands to know what Han-jun is doing. Han-jun stops and stares down at the floor coldly. Later, in the principal's cabin, Park and Han-jun are being questioned on how Han-jun dared to beat up his friend like this. The principal calls Han-jun a ruffian and reminds him that last time he let him off the hook and didn't make him leave school when he was still a freshman. The principal informs Han-jun that this time, he won't let him off the hook easily. Boss Choi finally feels good on hearing the principal's statement and taunts Han-jun by saying that he should at least feel sorry for his father. Park and Han-jun become furious, and Han-jun bangs his fist on Choi's face. The principal screams at Han-jun, but he doesn't stop. Choi is screwed, and his face is completely destroyed. A decent-looking man enters the room and asks brother Park and Han-jun to stop. They all gather around the man, and he introduces himself as Kim Bambayan, a lawyer from the KR law firm, handing over his card to the principal. KR law firm is Korea's most influential law firm, and the thought of someone from the KR law firm visiting his school leaves the principal in utter shock. After settling the matter, the lawyer Kim Bambayan explains everything to Junwoo. Junwoo inquiries about what happened next, and Park Han-jun tells him that after talking to the lawyer, the principal apologized to him and immediately expelled Boss Choi. This matter seemed too easy for Junwoo. Boss Choi constantly bullied Han-jun for 2 years, so he had to pay for his actions. Han-jun questions him about the principal, and Junwoo replies that making that man comply was a lot easier, as he has done many dirty things. and so Junwoo scared him with that information, and the principal immediately knuckled under his threat. Junwoo also informed Han-jun that for now, the principal won't be going to jail, but he'll be there soon since it'll be more convenient to have the principal on their side for sending Boss Choi to the juvenile detention center. Once Boss Choi is sent to the juvenile detention center, they'll deport that principal to jail. Junwoo doesn't pay taxes for teachers like him. Junwoo asks Han-jun about his feelings regarding letting out his anger after a long time. He wants Han-jun to be thankful to him. Park and Han-jun are indeed a bit thankful to Junwoo. But it's fine as there's still so much left for Han-jun to do before he'll actually be thankful to Junwoo. Moreover, Junwoo only wants to say that it's really nice to Park and Han-jun, as this sounds even better. This is where the video will end. If you want more manhwa recaps, make sure to like and subscribe.